Welcome to Landmark Talks Property, a podcast by Landmark Information Group that covers all things property in short and intelligent podcasts.
Hello everyone and welcome to this podcast where we'll be talking about why net zero matters in the legal sector. I'm Ali Parsons, I'm Customer Success Consultant with Landmark Information, and I'm joined today by Hannah Mooney, Marketing Coordinator at Cartridges Law, and Clive Meredith, Practice Director at Wollens, both situated in Devon and both firms committed to becoming more sustainable and reducing their carbon footprint. So welcome to you both. So as I said, the focus of the discussion really is around why net zero matters and particularly why it matters in the legal sector. Well, here we are in 2025. Do you think sustainability is becoming a key focus for law firms today?
Well, funnily enough, having looked at the questions earlier, I thought it wasn't, but having done some research overnight, it's quite clear that actually legal practices are taking this seriously. There was a recent poll that stated that around 46% of law firms, well, bearing in mind there's 9,000 odd law firms in the country, about 46% of them have actually measured their carbon footprints. I think it is definitely within the legal sector something that is on people's agenda as much as anything, because it's the right thing to do. And actually, our clients are expecting us to do this now. When we're dealing with clients, it's high priority for them too. So, yeah, definitely, it's certainly on the radar, that's for sure.
Hannah, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And we find that our clients have responded well to our sustainability efforts, not just our clients, though, also our, when it comes to recruitment. It's been mentioned in that as well. I think, like Clive said, it is, you can't really ignore it now. And I think a lot of businesses are working towards it.
Yeah, I think, from Landmark's perspectives, we've definitely seen more and more firms taking some form of action, even if it's just kind of putting their voice out there that they want to start. And I think that's sort of key. And like you said, the research is showing, I think the research that we recently did came out at, something like 55% of firms have made some sort of firm foot on the pedal to start their journey. So I suppose when we think about what has to be done, it can be done in various ways. So is there anything that we can do to encourage more firms and help drive this good shift towards people becoming more sustainable within their practice?
Yeah, so I think it's a mixture of things, really. There's regulatory pressure, and solicitors actually work well when it's written down, and there is that, these clear defined guidelines and law that you need to follow. So that kind of ticks the boxes for solicitors, certainly. Hannah's already touched on it, client expectations, and that is important. And it's great. Our clients too have responded really well to our journey into this area, and an internal culture as well, as Hannah's already mentioned. That's what some people are looking for. They're looking for to join a firm that does things, that stands for the right things, not just about making profit. It's more than just making profit. It has values, it has beliefs, it has a culture which they can align to. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. I think values of who you're going to work for and how that's portrayed when you go out working on behalf of your firm is also really key to what people want from being employed by somebody. So let's talk about your firm's journeys. Hannah, Cartridges is a smaller firm. Tell us about your green team and how you started it and what inspired you back then to start this journey.
Yeah, so our team established in 2021, and that was at the suggestion of our partners at the firm. And I think they were anticipating the inevitable, really, that shift towards more sustainability, that drive to be ahead of the curve. And we started a small group, predominantly our younger team. We started just meeting on our lunch breaks. Soon established that it would need to be a bit more of a commitment than that. So we now meet every 8 weeks. We rebranded as the Green Team. And yeah, we complete our green tasks on rotation of 8 weeks. I chair the meetings. We don't have a dedicated team as such, not a sort of individual role that takes on the sustainability stuff. It's divided through existing team members. So we've got paralegals, trainee solicitors, marketing, admin. So it has to be manageable within the, low general workload, because our clients take our priority. But I think with all that in mind, it proves that just making those smaller steps and doing something does matter. And that's what we found, certainly.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. And I think that's what you'll find quite a common thing is that there's dual roles when it comes to sustainability. It's your everyday role, and then there's the bits that you're helping towards your firm's journey towards being a sustainable practice. Clive, you've made great progress at Wollens since your 2019 benchmark report. But what were your first steps you took to get to that point?
Yeah, so very similar to Hannah, actually. It actually cropped up in 2019 when we did a staff survey. We were just really interested in what our staff thought of the firm, where we could improve. And I shouldn't have been surprised, but surprisingly, the environment came quite high up on that list. And it wasn't something we'd given an awful lot of thought to because we were operating in very old, dusty offices where you are really quite limited on what you can achieve sometimes within environmental changes that you can bring about. So the first thing we did was to create a team where we could just actually discuss what we could be doing to bring in some of these changes straight away. To be honest with you, our biggest change has come when we rationalized from 7 offices down to 3. And that's where we saw massive change, massive reduction in our carbon footprint. And it tallied in with COVID when clients actually got used to not coming into the office for a bit. So actually we were able to continue to service our clients. It couldn't have come for us. It couldn't have come at a better time. It changed a lot of behaviours within the practice. So overnight, as many other firms did, we went paperless overnight. Because unless you did, you couldn't do anything. That changed a lot of culture. Changed the culture, changed a lot of behaviours for the better. And within that period, we closed a number of our offices and brought them into our toolkit hub at the time. And we were able to work in a way that was new and transformative for the firm. And that's where we saw our biggest change. So it was quite a revolution. It was a big step and a big change. But once that happened, we were able then to be able to roll that out into other offices. So the team is absolutely right. You can't do anything on your own. You need the buy-in of everybody else within the firm to understand, what is our objective within this. And actually, a lot of the team have come up with great ideas that we would never have thought of. Really not. Our IT man came up with, I'd like to do a brochure for people to make them become more environmentally friendly at home. We did this wonderful brochure of what you can do in your lounge, what you can do in your bathroom, what you can do in your garage, what you can do in your garden.
And of course, you touched on it a bit then about things like the buildings. So we might have all these wonderful aims of, where we want to be, but it's never that simple, is it?
No.
I mean, you mentioned your challenge about moving from the amount of offices that you started with to a reduction of putting them all into one office or similar. How did people take that? Was the COVID bit a bit that helped you through that challenge? Or
Yeah, without doubt. Yeah. I mean, it had been on the radar before anyway, in that we've been planning a Torquay move for some time, or we hadn't been planning was to close the additional offices. But actually, when we realised we could quite easily operate without all these offices and clients still came to us, we could meet them on Zoom, we could do whatever we wanted to do to keep that client engagement. It became pretty evident very quickly that actually do this quite quickly. So yeah, that was the catalyst for it. So yeah, COVID has a lot to answer for in many ways, but also in many ways it's pushed us on as a sort of a sector without doubt. Sort of we've gained 5 years, and in probably about 18 months of COVID, we've done about 5 years.
Yeah, nothing else. It made us all reset where we were going with everything, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
Hannah, were there any challenges that you came across, or some of the things that you were aiming to do? Because it's not as simple as I said.
Yeah, well, I think for us, we've only got one office. As I've mentioned, we are a small firm and we are on the high street as opposed to being sort of in the city. Um, so I think from a property perspective, where we're positioned is not going to change, and it's really important for us to remain where we are. We have got an older building, so does raise challenges. But that's in our sort of long-term goals. Things like changing throughout the building to LED lighting. We have plans to change the windows at the front of the building to try and insulate a little bit better. We've actually transitioned to moving heat pumps. So that's been a big change for us. But I think it's quite interesting having the two, obviously Clive, your firm is larger than ours, but it just goes to show that the two, even though we are smaller, we can still make those tweaks and make a reduction. And yeah, we found it to be really successful. Actually, the changes that we've made just to the building so far.
Yeah, I guess, you're saying that your journeys are pretty much the same, aren't they? It's just different size firms doesn't make the difference from, doing what you're aiming to do, which is to make things better.
And I think the flexible working side of things as well. I mean, we as a firm have had a long standing with flexible working. I think that was always really important to the partners. And that helped us through, you mentioned COVID, that helped us through COVID because we didn't really need to massively alter that. I do think from a sort of sustainability side of things, having that balance of the two does really help. Because we only have a smallish office. If every single member of our staff were in at the same time, we wouldn't fit. So allowing that flexible working means that we can stay where we are, but still grow as a business. And that's really important as well.
You mentioned that there's sort of small changes. Were there any particular small changes that actually created a bigger impact for either of you?
Well, I'm sure everything's changed, really. I think, we reviewed everything that we do, every product we buy, everything gets looked at through the lens of, is this a sustainably viable product that we can use, that we can align with? And the companies that we deal with, they need to be on their journey too, so that we are confident of what they can offer us. And so yeah, everything's changed in the office, from the washing up liquid to the dishwasher tablets to the papers that we source, hundreds and hundreds of changes through the suppliers that we use. So yeah, it does look very different now, that's for sure. Our stationery bill has also dropped through the roof now because we're, again, like Anna's really, office is agile working. 90% of our stuff is all digital now. So, we don't need to buy vast amounts of stationery anymore. So that's had a big change. But even to our servers, we went out and we've sourced the most environmentally sustainable servers that we could purchase through HP, because that is important to us. What energy are they using? Can they be recycled afterwards? All these things are really, really important to us. So I think it's not, there's a myriad of little changes which has changed the whole way the business operates. But from an operational point of view, business still operates kind of like normal. See what I mean? Yeah.
And I think that's interesting when you're talking about those tweaks that, we've done pretty much the same as you, also changed our server, also changed suppliers, just thinking about everything in a sustainable way. But I think that once you have your mindset fixated on, that sustainable goal, it becomes quite easy. So when you're listing these things off and all of these massive changes that you've done, where it sounds quite big, really, it's over a period of time. So I think it's what we found as a team to begin with, we found quite overwhelming because we knew that we had a lot to do. But I think it's sort of taking a step back and realizing that there is time, and you just slowly doing it is absolutely fine, because making any steps towards more sustainable choices is always a good thing. And I think that's been a big part of our journey, and it's ongoing. There is still, I think, for being a smaller firm, we might have to take a little bit more time to plan in the bigger projects, like changing the lighting, etc. But knowing that we're going to achieve that at a certain point is really good, and it's good for the partners, us to know that the partners are buying into that, and we know that every meeting we're getting closer to ticking off those tasks, which is great.
And I think that's key, really, isn't it? Going back to when you first both spoke about your teams, if you've got a team of people, but you start getting everybody involved, those small things become, they become important to them as much as they have to you, ticking something off your list, as you said. And so they can buy into the bigger things that may impact the way they work, for example. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think staff buy-in is hugely important. I think regardless of what size firm you are, really. I mean, we've only got the one building, the one office, but just turning the lights off in a room you're not using, down the line, we're going to go for censored lighting in those areas, in certain areas. But for now, that's enough. And it's making a difference.
Just following on from what Alan said, really is, so we're in an office where we do have that kind of lighting, but we still have the same kind of issues in that we were looking at our aircon system, and the aircon system was turned on at 7 in the morning, and it was set to a certain temperature, and it would take 2 hours to get there, kind of thing. All the meeting rooms were turned on at the same time as well. These meeting rooms don't need to be used until probably 10 o'clock. So actually making slight adjustments to the aircon, turning it down a degree, and actually making sure the interview rooms didn't come on until they were required, it saved us about 15% on our energy bill just by making simple changes to an aircon system and thinking a bit more, practically about what needs to be used. I think we're a generation where we've just left stuff on because it's always been there, haven't we? And it's about changing habits. And,
being able to show the percentages and things also contributes to getting staff buy-in, because I think people, like say generation leaving things on, I think there are some people that will just eye roll when you mention anything green or making different choices like that, and that's it's something else to think about. But actually, when they see the impact of it, that does make that shift in habit, and yeah.
Yeah, because I guess if they thought about it at home, that's where you need your IT guy, Clive.
Yeah.
To give us a guide about how to behave in the same way at home. You would, because if we want to reduce the impact of our own electric bills for a start, we have to kind of think about those things. So don't, all you've got to do is apply that to what you do at work as well, isn't it? So yeah, and like you say, Hannah, demonstrating how much you've saved is a huge boost to anybody. So wow, that's great, just by switching off, your laptop properly at night and those sorts of things. That's great. So you can each answer this, I think, but if you were talking to a firm that's just starting out or thinking about starting on their journey, what advice would you give to them, especially those maybe that perhaps think, oh, it's too costly and that might have limited resources?
I think probably my advice would be start simple and start with the biggest win, which is energy, really. That's where I would start every time, because it's one of those products we have to use. I'll be honest, if anybody is starting out, it's really painful to go through invoices and to log them and to work out how many kilowatt hours you've used, what price we paying for kilowatt hours. Once you've done it once, though, it's there and you're okay. And you know what you're doing the next year. I would start with energy, start with that, start to look at where you can reduce. And also put your energy. We're on contracts here, so with the 3 offices, so we go out to tender at the same time for all the offices. So we get the green tariffs, and we put it all out at once. So we know that we're on the right tariffs to support our internal costs. But that's where I would start every time, because if you're not doing anything else, that's a win, and that's quite a big win when you start to measure your goals.
Absolutely. Hannah, anything different from you?
I mean, I do agree. I think a lot of the time, especially when it comes to a smaller business, sometimes things labelled green or sustainable can actually be more costly. But I think there are sort of short-term pain for long-term gain in some of these things. And I think it's sort of being aware of that as well. I completely agree with I think just starting I think pulling a few people together. So we have a lunch and learn at work, which we do on rotation with different departments, and we've had a green team lunch and learn, where our team put presentation together just to pull the staff together. So I think doing something like that would be really great to get staff engagement, seeing what people's viewpoints are and what suggestions they might make as well, and make it a really inclusive thing for the business. I think that would be a really good way to start. And yeah, definitely agree with the energy side of things. Even just doing that switch to a green tariff would be a huge,
big start. Yeah, absolutely. So as I said before, driving towards net zero has like various stages. It doesn't happen in an instant. I think any of us sort of think, oh, it's going to happen in the first 3 years, we're completely wrong. But what would you say are your next goals? Where do you feel you're at now? Do you feel you're like properly on the journey and, it's just about that constant reduction? Or do you think there's other things that you need to do before you get to that point?
I think for our firm, definitely it's the staff mode of transport into the office. Really, so we have salary sacrifice schemes, ours. We have cycle to work schemes, all of those things which encourage staff to be a little bit more greener in their choice of travel. I would love to see a greater take up on electric vehicles. I drive an electric car myself. I was really not sure if it would suit me or not, but it's been fantastic. And I think it's that getting over, I think in any kind of anything new, you get early adopters. You get those people who go, oh, this is good, I'll go. And the others will stand back and wait and come in maybe at a later date. But I'd really like to encourage our staff to do more in that area. I'm not quite sure how I go about that yet. That's an area where I really want to look at. More bikes, more electric cars, really.
I do know one of your team that got herself an electric bike, Clive, and she was very happy back in the summer. Might ask her again how she's getting on with that. What about you, Hannah? What do you think your next goals for cartridges?
I mean, I've touched on them a bit already with changing the lighting, etc. I think we're in a bit of a transitional stage at the moment. We've got 3 years of data behind us now and are continuing to collect the data. So we're kind of at a point where we're deciding what to do with that and how we proceed forward. As I mentioned, our green team is made up of various team members, and Cartridges are great, really supportive of staff and really want to train them up, etc. So quite a few of them are moving on to their training solicitors. So it's capacity as well. So we're just thinking about how we go forward and manage it. But we've got the bigger goals, which is the lighting and adapting the building a little. But I think, this next bit now is really crucial to decide sort of how we progress. But we will continue on our journey. It's just, I'm not sure how that looks yet. One of the things that we are doing is we partnered with Exeter Baby Bank, who have a strong sustainability goal. They work very sustainably, and we're going to be working with them, doing some corporate days, that sort of thing. And we'd like to introduce that a little bit more to our team and allow them to be able to go out and do some community work. And that's something that we would like to explore as well, which we haven't been able to do yet, but it's on the list.
Yeah, that's a great idea because it's a great way of making people think a little bit outside and not it just being something that works, insisting that you do. It's about sharing that message in it to the wider people. So in that mind, then, how do you see sort of collaboration with like the likes of Landmark, where we can support with training, or other collaborators, who can support firms and perhaps even your clients with thinking about progressing, sustainability across the legal sector?
I think information sharing is really key, but I think particularly in relation to law firms, really we're all competing for the same business, aren't we? But I don't think that should come into it when it comes to sustainability. I think the information sharing, what you've done that hasn't worked, just sort of showcasing those things. And I think if Landmark could potentially be that platform of sharing, information sharing, we've had these people do this, these people do that, this has shown this. Everyone loves a stat.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think for us, when we started on our journey, there wasn't much information out there, frankly. And so you really had to dig very hard to make any sense of it, really. And whereas now there's so much more, and I think that's a really positive thing. And certainly with Landmark and all that you're trying to achieve, I think it's great to be able to just be able to signpost people somewhere where you know that they'll get the right information.
Yeah.
That's a really positive thing. It wasn't like that in 2019 when we started out.
No. And I think it's great that we're kind of all trying to do this together, because Landmark are equally on their own journey. So it's about not being sort of felt that you're completely out on your own trying to do this, but doing it with like-minded people. Okay, so we're going to sort of close up a little bit here, but I thought we might get a couple of final thoughts from you. Both of your firms have won the Devon and Somerset Law Society Sustainability Award. How's that recognition supported or encouraged your sustainability work or aims within your firm, do you think? Do you think those sort of recognitions are helpful?
I think for us, with sort of sharing the green team job load with a range of employees here, from paralegals, training solicitors, marketing admin, I think it's been really incredibly rewarding just to see that efforts acknowledged. I think we've made real notable changes. Being awarded for that reinforces that we're on the right track, really. I think we don't operate a strict hierarchy at Cartridges Law, so I think our partners, they show such genuine, supportive, they just really want us to achieve in our sustainable goals, and I think that's been really important for us, and I think winning the Dazzles Award twice has just really, it's given the team that boost to carry on, because I think you can get really bogged down in your general day-to-day work, and as I mentioned before, our clients do take precedent. They are, they are the most important thing. So it's finding the balance of the two, and I think having the Dazzles Awards is just sort of reignited the spark a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, we're doing a good thing here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's hugely validating for the work that you do. Because everybody's doing the best of their ability, but you don't really know if you're on the right track. So to be externally accredited, as it were, that's a huge difference, and it's really encouraging. It's fantastic. And I'm a great believer in external accreditation anyway, whether it's for awards or for we're with Carbon Neutral Britain. I think that was when I started on this. I had to say to partners that we need to be externally verified to ensure that we do this right. Otherwise, we cut corners. We'll just get it through on the minimum, and actually to have someone else come in and look at our data and actually verify that is part of the integrity of the process. Actually, to make sure we're doing it correctly. So it was lovely to win at the award, and it went down really, really well at the firm. So when you're nagging people about recycling bins and all of that kind of stuff, there's a reason for this. Yeah?
I've never ever talked about bins so much in my life as in a couple of years.
Yes, the nag still goes on everywhere. We get the same as well. Working from home, I can get away with things. Anyway, thank you both for joining me. Thanks for everyone listening. If there's anyone out there who thinks that they'd like some support, Landmark Sustainability Team are here to help you and your firm's strategy to become more sustainable in your practice, and to hopefully reap the benefits that both Wollens and Cartridges Law have so far, and probably go on to earn a little bit more. But please feel free to contact us. So again, thank you, Clive. Thank you, Hannah, and look forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks, Ali.